Breaking news. What is this, the freaking news? Nah. Okay. You might have heard, you might not have heard yet, but let's get down to business. I saw the freaking news. It's trending. It's on Twitter or X, whatever. Dwayne Davis, aka Keefe D, the uncle of Orlando Anderson, the alleged shooter of Tupac Shakur, my favorite rapper, and some of y'all's too, I'm sure, has been indicted on murder charges for the murder of Tupac. Let me just read this headline to y'all real quick. Pitchfork. Man arrested and charged in Tupac Shakur murder case in surprise breakthrough. Rolling Stone. Man charged with murder in connection to Tupac Shakur's killing. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis indicted on murder charge for Tupac Shakur 1996 shooting. Associated Press. Last living suspect in 1996 drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur indicted on murder charge. And so on and so forth. I damn near don't know what to say. Like, as the biggest Tupac fan that I know, it's almost like some kind of like freaking sigh of relief, but people that are hip-hop fans, love rap, really into it, kind of already know for the most part what happened. It's been broken down before, especially for fans of Tupac. I really wanted to know, because some people still think he's alive to this day, just having that hope, A man who prosecutors say orchestrated the 1996 drive-by shooting of rapper Tupac Shakur was arrested and charged with murder Friday in a long-awaited breakthrough in one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, 60, has long been known to investigators as one of 4 suspects identified early in the investigation. He isn't the accused gunman, but was described as the shot caller by authorities Friday at a news conference and in court. 60 years old, and this happened over 25 years ago now. He was basically like in his mid-30s when this happened. We got to make better choices, people. He was only a few years older than me. And it's kind of ridiculous. Davis himself admitted in interviews and in his 2019 tell-all memoir, Compton Street Legend, that he provided the gun used in a drive-by shooting. Damn. You did that? All right. I mean, we talk about, snitching and, all that stuff. I'm like, you kind of snitching on yourself. Well, it's your memoir, though. It's your own memoir. Let's continue. Police Homicide Lieutenant Jason Johansson said Davis's own public comments revived the investigation by providing police with admissible evidence. So basically, the police didn't have enough evidence to indict him. But Keefe D talked on the internet and in his memoir, and they're like, we could use this. Now that speaks to a deeper, darker issue with social media and wanting attention, and there's nothing wrong with that inherently. But when it gets you indicted on criminal charges for things like murder, nah, that ain't it, Chief. Davis was arrested early Friday while on a walk near his home on the outskirts of Las Vegas, hours before prosecutors announced in court that a Nevada grand jury had indicted the self-described gangster on one count of murder with a deadly weapon. The grand jury also voted to add a sentencing enhancement to the murder charge for gang activity that, if he's convicted, could add up to 20 additional years. The first ever arrest in the case came more than 2 months after Las Vegas police raided Davis's home in the nearby city of Henderson for items they described at the time as concerning the murder of Tupac Shakur. Yeah, they raided his home. I thought it was longer than 2 months ago, actually, but all right, that's fair. They raided his home, I guess because of his memoir that he released a few years ago. And then, of course, let's not forget, y'all probably know for the same reason that I do. You watched that Vlad TV interview, just like I did. back in 2019, Keefe D had an interview with Vlad. And he's been on other platforms, of course, too, but Vlad is one of the biggest, as far as the YouTube space that, interviewed him, talked about the memoir, his life growing up. But you know what it was about. You and I both know. We know what that was about. Vlad is a huge Tupac fan, and he said it himself. He loves to say that he solved the Tupac murder case because he has interviewed pretty much everyone related to Tupac in some way. Like Idi Amin of the Outlaws, multiple police officers and emergency response team members and things of that nature. A couple lawyers, I believe, Keefe D, and so on and so forth. Basically, Keefe D snitched, dry snitch on himself, whatever you want to call it, which also goes into a deeper, darker history about snitching in hip-hop. Even though Keefe D ain't really a rapper, he was just arrested this morning. One of the things he said on that interview with Vlad is that he had a proffer agreement, basically. It's a written agreement, and, they can give the prosecutor information, about a crime, but it limits the prosecutor's ability to use that information against them. The thing is, that only works for whatever's said then. They made that very clear in the interview. So him writing about it in a freaking tell-all book or whatever is not part of the proffer agreement. Him going on Vlad TV and talking about it is not part of the proffer agreement. Him going on all these other channels and talking about it, BET talking about it, everywhere else talking about it, is not part of the proffer agreement. So they can and will use that information against you. I was going to say as a young black man we should do better, but this man is almost twice my age. So once again, that's a much deeper topic to even go into. How they use, our ignorance sometimes against us as African Americans and whatnot. But he's only been indicted, so he hasn't been found guilty yet. Maybe he'll get out on bond, bail, or whatever. But considering this is a high-profile murder for one of the biggest celebrities back then in the mid-90s, rapper, actor, all that, I'm not a freaking lawyer, and I'm not going to pretend to be. But I can speculate. It doesn't look good, in my opinion. And once again, for those that don't know, I'll go over it real quick. Like I said, Keefe D is the uncle of Orlando Anderson. Orlando Anderson is the one that was, jumped by Tupac, Suge, and the rest of the Death Row crew that was there at the casino that day in Vegas back in September 1996. Going back further, Orlando Anderson allegedly is the one that jumped Tupac's associate and stole his chain like months prior. So, once again, gang violence, young men in their 20s, Keefe D being a little older, in his 30s. We got to do better. What else is there to say? When I heard that they were raiding his house like a couple months ago, I was a little bit surprised. But then again, all that talking he did online, dang near he confessed to being in the car. He admitted to being in the car. He said, I didn't shoot him. But he was in the car. And they're considering him like a shot caller or whatever, as they say. Long story short, is this right? Is this fair? It's been over 25 years, but should murder have a statute of limitations? Dead man tell no tales, as they say. So he can't defend himself. Tupac, of course. Or Orlando. Orlando was killed, actually, I believe not too long after Tupac was. Or to say that this is breaking news, and it's for a reason. People love Tupac. And I'm pretty much just going to end it with this. What do you guys think? Do you think Vlad is wrong here, and of course other platforms, other channels that gave Keefe D a platform and asked him these questions? Or do you think it's Keefe D's fault for even writing a memoir and including that incident in it, knowing that this is murder he was talking about and not some like, oh, I was dealing drugs like 40 years ago, you know? Is his, what is it, ego, hubris, or just plain ignorance? What do you think? But I say this. I have multiple Tupac t-shirts, and I picked this one for a good reason. You might have noticed already, you might not. Maybe it's hard to read, but I'll give you a real good hint. This situation, to me, kind of just smells like poetic justice. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'll be following the situation just like I'm sure y'all will be too. We'll see what comes from it, but I hope this brings some level of peace of mind, comfort, solace even, to the family and friends of Tupac Shakur. Lassane Parish. I'm out.